Psalm 139:16. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there were none of them. My birth was not planned. My parents were 16 when I was conceived, and that was just the beginning of the chaos that would be my childhood. My mother was diagnosed with severe bipolar disorder shortly after my birth and was in and out of institutions most of my early childhood, and my dad was alcoholic. The only stability surrounding my formative years were my grandma and grandpa, my dad's parents. My parents tried to do the right thing by getting married, but my mom's illness was more than my dad could handle, and they divorced less than 2 years later. My dad received custody of me because of my mom's mental illness and fact that she would leave me alone at home in my crib for hours at a time. I spent the next few years of my life living with my grandparents and my dad. I constantly felt like a burden or that I was in the way. I was exposed to two things in my early childhood that would impact my adult life: alcohol and pornography. I grew up going to taverns with my dad and my grandparents. Both my dad and my grandpa had pornographic magazines they would leave lying around. This imparted an unhealthy view of women at a very early age. My dad remarried Jane when I was 7, and although I longed for a mother, I remember being very heartbroken when I first saw my dad kiss Jane. Jane had a severely handicapped daughter, Jamie, and was pregnant with my sister, Katie. Within a couple of months of Katie's birth, Jane was pregnant again. 9 months later, Becky was born. I quickly accepted my position as an outsider looking in on this family unit. When I was 10 years old, my dad found employment in Mississippi. Jamie went to live with her dad, and the rest of us moved to Mississippi. Moving away from my grandparents was not easy for me, and now I really felt as though I was an outsider looking in on this family unit. Matthew 19:14. But Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for such belongs the kingdom of heaven." When we moved to Mississippi, we moved to this apartment complex, and behind this complex there was this field, and across the field there was this little church. I remember being drawn to this church. So at age 10, I started going to church every Sunday morning alone. I learned of Jesus at this church, and I fell in love. I didn't feel a lot of love at home. Life was hard for my parents. 2 small children at home, money was tight, and I felt like I was in the way. So I would escape to church anytime the doors were open. I'm not sure how much time passed, but eventually Jane, with my sisters, began to come to church. This was not a good thing for me because she wasn't nice to me at home, but she was loving to me at church. I believe that this is when the seed of doubt about God was planted. Luke 22:31 through 32. Simon, Simon, behold, Satan demanded to have you, that he may sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail, and when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. Looking back, I believe that just as Satan sifted Simon, he was allowed to sift me. I don't have a lot of memory from my early teen years, but I do remember one day just deciding I was not going to go to church anymore. I saw hypocrisy in the church. There was no way I was going to allow Jane to treat me nice in front of the people at church, only to treat me poorly when I got home. I lost all faith in Jesus and in the church. I was heartbroken and my heart hardened. 1 John 2:11. But whoever hates his brother is in darkness and walks in the darkness, and he does not know where he is going because the darkness has blinded his eyes. I hated my family. I believe that it was that hate that blinded me. Granted, the hatred came from pain, but nonetheless it blinded me. Now, not only did I feel disconnected from many family members, I now had a God void. A huge gaping wound, and I was too immature to realize that I had turned from the very thing that would heal my pain. Pain always finds comfort, so naturally, I sought out comfort for my pain, often not realizing that that was what I was doing. I did this with drugs, alcohol, relationships, pornography, and food. Somehow, I managed to stay under the proverbial radar, never doing too much of any one to get caught or having a visible effect, but rotating through them at a significant pace. A major event in my life was at age 17. I moved to Indiana to live with my birth mother. This was the first time that I had lived with her. Things with Jane had gotten unbearable, and my dad made the decision that I should leave to maintain peace among them. So I left. Living with my mom had good points and bad points. I had more freedom living with her, which gave me opportunity to engage in the activities that eased my pain. The use of drugs and alcohol were commonplace. To me, this was a good thing, because for a short time, I was numb to the pain. The bad thing was I didn't know my mother. I had no fond memories to rely on when things got tough, and my hatred for her grew. I was blind and living in complete darkness. I couldn't remember a point that I didn't want to die. Suicide fantasia became another comfort to my pain. I spent the next 13 years of my life in what I refer to as the pit of hell. The use of alcohol, pornography, sexual sin, and thoughts of suicide kept me constantly numb. I joined the Marine Corps during this time, which got me away from my family, but fueled my alcohol abuse. I would drink to a blackout drunk about 4 nights a week. Looking back, God was clearly with me, protecting me. I suffered few tangible consequences for my behavior, when there were many times I should have been arrested for drunk driving, gotten in trouble with the Marine Corps for my behavior, but I never did. Thankfully, I never did. When my enlistment from the Marine Corps was up, I decided not to re-enlist and moved into the government contracting world. I always had good, secure employment, which I now can see was a gift from God. He was always with me, even though I denied him for certain times. The day I was no longer accountable to the Marine Corps was the day that the drug abuse began again. I couldn't take the hangovers from the alcohol, but the pain still needed to be treated. The noise in my head, the self-loathing, the rejection, the suicide, the guilt, and shame needed to be quieted. Marijuana became my new savior. As long as I was able to medicate, I could keep myself together. The drug abuse went on for the next few years, actually until the day I moved into my husband's house. We got married when I was 27, after 3 years of on-again, off-again dating. He had no idea of my drug use, but made it clear once I told him that if I ever smoked pot again, that he would divorce me. So I went back to alcohol. This time, though, I had been to some counseling and I was on a slew of antidepressants, none of which should have been mixed with alcohol, but of course I mixed them. I have 2 occasions where I went to sleep having taken so many pills and drank so much alcohol that I wasn't sure if I would wake up. I hoped that I wouldn't wake up. God had plans for me because I woke up. My marriage was miserable and I was broken.